make it later. And we had nobody but 4 gunners. We had 4, they call them gunners, and they shoot the Patriots, they shoot the missiles up, it's hard to believe. So all of a sudden they said, we're ready. And they were a little nervous about doing it. Can you imagine? They were nice enough, this is Iran, to call me and tell me that they would like to shoot me at 14 times. So they want to shoot us, and I said, go ahead, and they shot 14 high-grade, very fast missiles. Every single one of them was shot down routinely by these and they did their job, and that was the end of that. But the big thing was the attack on their nuclear facilities, what those people did. And you know they're going to be in Washington tomorrow at the White House. We're going to be celebrating. We took not only the pilots, but the people that flew the other planes, but also the mechanics that had these planes going for 37 hours.
Wow!
You know, we had 50, it was so far away, we had 52 tankers. Think of that, 52 that's loaded up with oil. I wouldn't want to fly one of those suckers over a bridge. I say, what happens if they're shot at? Well, sir, that's a tough situation. It's not a pretty sight, but they were unbelievable. 52 tankers to load them up. They followed the planes in, and they never had to stop for fuel. They went 37 hours, actually. And how incredible. What equipment. What equipment. And you know, China, Russia, they were all watching. Everybody was watching. We have the greatest equipment anywhere in the world. We have the greatest people anywhere in the world. And we have the strongest military.
Woo!
But we're going to fully modernize our air traffic control system and expand school choice and really so much more. By the way, the air traffic control, you probably don't have that problem here. You know, you have planes land like they, but in some congested areas, you saw what happened with the helicopter and the plane and a lot of other things. If we had great equipment, and we should have had it. It was all set up to go. And then Biden canceled the order when he came in. But he canceled a lot of orders because he didn't know what the hell it was. This case would have never happened. Bells would have gone off, whistles would have gone off, everything would have gone off. It would have never happened. Very simply, the one big beautiful bill would deliver the strongest border on earth, the strongest economy on earth, the strongest military on earth, and ensure the United States of America will remain the strongest country anywhere on this beautiful planet. 165 days into the Trump administration, America is on a winning streak like, frankly, nobody's ever seen before in the history of the presidency. I said, they said, you know, sir, you're going to go down as one of the greatest presidents ever. I said, really? No, I said, really? I said, better than Washington? I said, yes, sir. I said, better than honest Abe Lincoln? I said, yes, sir. I said, I like this guy that said that. That's a smart guy. He's up for a big promotion right now. But just a few months ago, our country was cold as ice. We were laughed at all over the world. We were laughed at. Think of it, a year ago, we were laughed at. We were a bunch of clowns. We were laughing at our president. We were laughing at everything having to do with our country. I was in Saudi Arabia. I was in Qatar. I was in UAE. Great leaders, strong, powerful, very rich leaders too, by the way. But great leaders, very smart people. And he said to me, the king of Saudi Arabia, but the three said the same thing essentially. They said, you know, a year ago we thought your country was finished. We thought it was dead. Dead. Horrible word, dead. And they were right. The country was close to death. And he said, and you know what? You've been in there. At that time it was 4.5 months. It was a couple of months ago. He said, right now, you're in the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country in the world. You talked about all over the world. You got the hottest, smartest, sharpest country. And by the way, look at our stock market. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars over there. No inflation. And today we just set another record, the highest stock market in history. No inflation. And one of the great economists from the Wharton School of Finance, where I happen to go, he apologized. He says, you know, I think Trump outsmarted us all. And yesterday with the poll, and out of 77 economists, I came in second. I want to find the guy that came in first. Somebody came in first, can you believe it? But we said what was going to happen, and it's happening. And I'll tell you what, we had the greatest economy in the history of my first term. This is going to blow it away. You watch. For the first time in years, this 4th of July, the economy is roaring, incomes are soaring, wages are up, prices are down. Gasoline, you see what's going on with gasoline? It's way down. See what's going on with eggs? Eggs are way down. Remember I came in my first week, the fake news, those guys right there, look at all of them. A lot of fake, no, but we like it. Just shows you, when you can get every story, 100% of the stories, no matter what you do that's good, they make it as bad as possible. And then you win in a landslide. There's something wrong. But the fake news hit me with eggs. Remember, first week, 4 days. Eggs are through the roof. I said, I just got here. What's going on with eggs? Tell me. I didn't hear about it. They're up 5 times higher than they should be. They were going through the roof, but they were blaming me. I said, I just got here. And within 2 months, our great Secretary of Agriculture, who I think is with us tonight, all the way comes from Texas, but I think she likes Iowa maybe even better. Look at her. She did a good job with groceries and with eggs. It's true. They said, we have them this time, finally. It took an egg to get me, but that didn't happen either. Now they're down to a normal price, and people are ordering like crazy. But inflation is dead. 401ks and retirement accounts just hit an all-time record high. Did I hear what I think I heard? We've achieved the lowest level of illegal border crossings in U.S. history, 0 illegals. Think of it, we had 0. And as I said, and I'll say it again, I love it because I have never seen any country suffer. No country has ever, don't worry, it's only fireworks, I hope. Famous last words. My famous last words, Trump said, don't worry, it's only fireworks. Hey, you always have to think positive. I didn't like that sound either. But last month, American-born workers gained 830,000 new jobs, a record. That's American. While the illegal aliens lost 340,000. We don't want bad for them, but look, we have a country to run. We want to have them come in, and we want to have them help our farmers. You know, you probably saw I got myself into a little trouble because I said, I don't want to take people away from the farmers. And we're going to do something I think that's going to be good because we want all the criminals out. Everybody agrees that we're finding the criminals, the murderers, the drug dealers, we're getting them the hell out of here. But the farmers, some of the farmers, many of you sitting right here, I have 4 friends right in the 5th row. But some of the farmers, you know, they've had people working for them for years. And we're going to do something. We're working with Christie. And we're going to do something that we're going to sort of put the farmers in charge. And if a farmer's been with one of these people that work so hard, they bend over all day. We don't have too many people can do that. But they work very hard, and they know them very well. And some of the farmers are literally, you know, they cry when they see this happen. If a farmer's willing to vouch for these people, in some way, Christy, I think we're going to have to just say that's going to be good. But, you know, we're going to be good with it because we don't want to do it where we take all of the workers off the farms. We want the farms to do great, like they're doing right now. So, Christy Norm has done a fantastic job, and Tom Homan. And we're working on legislation right now. Susie, right? We're working on legislation right now where farmers, look, they know better. They work with them for years. You had cases that where, not here, but just even over the years, where people have worked for a farm on a farm for 14, 15 years, and they get thrown out pretty viciously. And we can't do it. We got to work with the farmers and people that have hotels and leisure properties too. We're going to work with them, and we're going to work very strong and smart. And we're going to put you in charge. We're going to make you responsible. And I think that that's going to make a lot of people happy. Now, serious radical right people, who I also happen to like a lot, they may not be quite as happy, but they'll understand, won't they? Do you think so? Madam Secretary, look at you with a white hat on. Do you think they'll understand that? You're the one that brought this whole situation up. Brooke Rollins brought it up, and she said, so we have a little problem. The farmers are losing a lot of people. And we figured it out, and we have some great stuff being written, and let the farmers be responsible. And then if the farmers don't do a good job, we'll throw them the hell out of the country. We'll let the illegals stay, and we'll throw the farmer the hell out. Get ready, farmer, I'm telling you. But violent, okay, so the fake news will write that. Donald Trump will throw farmers out of our country. They will write it. Because whenever I'm sarcastic, you know, when you can't be sarcastic as a politician. Well, if you're me, you can be if you're sarcastic. So I want to say I was only kidding. No, the fake news will write it. Donald Trump wants all farmers thrown the hell out of our country. The audience booed the hell out of him. There was no boo. No, they're fake news. That's why nobody watches them anymore. Violent crime is plummeting, and we're on track to reach the lowest murder rate ever recorded by the end of this year. It looks like we're doing way. And that's knowing that we have a lot of people in the country that we didn't have in the country 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, we have a lot of people that they allowed into the country that are serious criminals. A lot of them are on their way out, however. Iran's nuclear enrichment has been obliterated. Remember when CNN said, it wasn't obliterated. It was maybe damaged, or damaged badly, but obliterated is too strong a word. No, it was obliterated. That's now been proven. The Atomic Energy Commissions, everything that's been obliterated. And they were trying to demean me by saying that, but they were really demeaning those great pilots and people, mechanics that got those planes over there and were able to shoot from high up in the air going very, very fast with potentially a lot of things being shot at them and hit every single one, they're trying to demean me, but to me they were demeaning them. And they got out of the plane and they said, what the hell, we hit every single target. They know better than anybody. But now that's been proven. It's CNN fake news and scammers that work for them. Scam writers that work for them. But we understand it and we fight it back. And a lot of people say, sure, don't criticize it because they're beneath you. No, they're not beneath me. Nobody's beneath me. You got to put it, otherwise people don't understand. If you don't say something about it, you got to say it. These people did one of the greatest military hits and maneuvers in the history of our country. And I want them to be appreciated. They're coming to the White House tomorrow night, and I'm signing the bill with the Speaker of the House. And by the way, Mike Johnson did a great job. John Thune did a great job, and everybody. This whole 2 weeks has been incredible, hasn't it? You know, when you think of all of the victories. We stopped 5 nations from going to war, and somebody else will get the Nobel Peace Prize for their writing about Donald Trump. A professor at some school that you've never heard of has received the Nobel Prize for his writing about Donald Trump and what Donald Trump did. I say, what about me? I don't get it, but that's one of those things. But think of it, we stopped India and Pakistan. We stopped Kosovo and Serbia. They've been fighting for a long time. And a lot of it was trade. I said, you're not going to trade with us if you're going to go to war. And India, Pakistan was big, very big for a different reason. I mean, they have little things called nuclear weapons. You would have had pretty soon a nuclear war. We stopped that. In Africa, you look at what was going on in the Congo with Rwanda. That war was going on for 30 years. 30 years. And we stopped it, and it was vicious. 6 million people killed. It was a bad one. It was killed and killed badly with machetes. You know what a machete is? You don't want to know. And we just did a really great job. And then, of course, you cap it off with the hit, the perfect hit in Iran, where they were talking awfully badly. You know, death to America, death to Israel. They were talking awfully badly, and they're not talking badly anymore, to be honest with you. Might even meet with them and see if they want to meet. They want to meet, and we'll see if we can do something. But they want to meet. I think they want to meet very bad. But our allies have agreed to pay over $1 trillion a year for our defense. You saw what happened in NATO. In fact, we have our ambassador to NATO here. Where's our, you know that guy?
Yeah, Chuck.
Really know him. Big Matt. Matt Whitaker. We have Matt Whitaker from Iowa. I wasn't going to hire I said, Matt, you come from Iowa, don't you? Yes, sir, I do. Okay, you're hired. Anybody comes from Iowa, I'm hired. And every branch of the U.S. military is setting records for new enlistments. You know, remember a year ago, it was embarrassing. They couldn't get anybody to go into the military. They couldn't get anybody to go into the police or fire departments. They couldn't get anybody to go into government. And now we just set a record, a new record of enlistments in every single branch of the military and in all One year ago, I remember saying to our great First Lady, I said, you know, First Lady, I call her First Lady because it makes me feel good. First Lady, isn't it terrible? Saying good night, First Lady, my darling. Because it reminds me that I'm president. Now I said, First Lady, it's terrible. Nobody wants to join our military force. And you know, that was very demeaning to the people that are in there, that have been in there for a long time doing a good job. Then all of a sudden, like, we get elected and there's a spirit in the country and we start doing well. We have victory after victory on so many different things, especially economically. We're doing so good. We have hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in from other countries. We have plants being built all over. I mean, a little less here because you have enough with your farm. Oh, by the way, but I did get beef and I got ethanol into Europe. We saw that. United Kingdom, they didn't want to do it. You know, they never took our beef and they never took our ethanol. And we said, you got to do it, and they did, and they were great. We made a wonderful trade deal with it, but we're doing that all over. Is ethanol very important?
Thank you.
Anyway, so they've taken it in the United Kingdom, and beef, they never took it because they want to do their run. You know, they have a lot of farms, a lot of farmers, and they want to do their run, but they took it, and it's going to be great. You're going to do, I'll tell you what, the farmers here are going to do incredibly. Plus, we have tariffs on a lot of this stuff that was coming in and absolutely killing you, where they have different forms of vegetation coming in at prices that were very, very bad for you. And a lot of it comes in because they want to put you out of business, and then they want to raise the prices. And we're not letting that happen to the farmers in to Iowa, to Nebraska, and Wisconsin, and all these other places. And in breaking news just yesterday, we reached a historic trade agreement with Vietnam.
Yeah, Vietnam!
Markets to American exports with zero tariffs. They get zero tariffs. And you're going to be giving them vast amounts of farm product, including beef, pork, poultry, dairy, and pure Iowa ethanol. You're going to be given all of those products. And the fact is, I could go on and on, but the fact is really strong, and it's stronger than it's ever been, and stronger than I've ever seen. The golden age of America is upon us. This is a golden age. This is such a beautiful term, the golden age. I couldn't have even said it in my first term. I'm telling you, this is going to blow the first term away, and we did great. We got great marks in the first term, and this is going to blow it away. This incredible national resurgence is happening just in time for one of the biggest events in the history of our country. Exactly 1 year from tomorrow, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's founding with a birthday party, the likes of which you have never seen before. 2 years ago, I came to Iowa and promised that the festivities would begin right here at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, and tonight, here I am.
Yeah! USA! 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 USA!
No, it is an honor. You've been with me from the beginning. Without doubt. In fact, I had some moments when I said maybe they might not, fake stories were put out there like, I don't like corn. I don't like corn. I love corn. But they give you fake news. I said, you think that's going to hurt me in Iowa? My numbers went up. I don't know. I can't figure you people that. This evening, we're officially launching America250, an enormous year-long nationwide celebration of our heritage. It's really also a celebration of our flag, our great American flag, and our glorious American flag. Did anybody see the beautiful flag I put up in front of the White House?
Yeah! Better than private.
Everyone's liking it. Everyone's liking it. I actually put two up. I put one in the front and one in the back. I didn't want to go too crazy. I thought that would be enough. They're about as big as you can get. We're proud of it. We will be announcing many more details in the weeks to come, but there are just some of the things that we have planned. And I have to say first, in honor of the wonderful tradition of fairgrounds like this one, this is a great fairground. As you know, I've been here before. We will be orchestrating what we're calling the Great American State Fair, and it will start right here in Iowa.
Iowa.
We're starting it off in Iowa, and we're starting it off at the Great Fairgrounds, and we're going to have a big crowd just like we do tonight. That's a big crowd. I can't even see the end of it. So thank you back there. I'd like to move the press back so they could see better. But the Great American State Fair will bring America250 programming to fairgrounds across the country, culminating in a giant patriotic festival next summer on the National Mall, featuring exhibits from all 50 states, and all 50 states are excited, and I was excited. You know, when I did the 250, there was nothing I could do. It was 250, it was 250, so I can't say that was my baby, because you happen to be 250 years old. But what I did do is during my first term, I got the Olympics, and I got the great soccer, you know, that whole deal, right? We call it soccer, they call it football. I got them both. I got the Olympics. First I got the Olympics, and I got it. I was president, and I said, you know, it's a shame. I got the World Cup, and I have the Olympics, and I did it. And you have no idea. President Obama didn't want to make a call to the Olympics. You know why? Because he went to Switzerland or wherever. And he said, you know, if a president goes to get the Olympics, you have to have a deal. You have to be chosen. He went there and he came in fourth, so he hated them, I guess. And he was unwilling to make a call, and they called me up. Democrats called me up, actually, from Los Angeles, and I said, I'll do it. I made the call, and I couldn't get the people off the phone because they were so starved for love. Because nobody would call them from. Anyway, we made a deal. I got the Olympics. Then we got the World Cup with Johnny. We got the World Cup, and I got them both. And I looked at my people. I said, isn't it a shame? I got these two, but it wasn't in the next 4 years. It was right after that and the one after that. And I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and we also have 250, so it's a pretty wild term. But I got these two things that are incredible. Nobody else could have done it. I'm telling you, everybody wanted it. Nobody could have done it. And I said, and I won't be president, because I'll be president for 4 more years, but it won't be. And then they cheated and rigged the election. You know, they don't even turn off the cameras when I say that now, because now they know it's true too. But they knew it was true before. Remember, the cameras used to immediately turn off. You see all those beautiful red lights go up. Now I can say whatever I want because they know it's true. But they knew it was true before. It's fake news, that's what they call it. But you know what? This term is much more consequential than if I had done it the more traditional way. This was slightly harder, believe me. It's slightly more dangerous because there are criminals on the other side that tried to put your president in jail, went after him, just like they do in third world countries. And we all beat him together. We beat him because our level of popularity was so high. And it was high because I explained the situation. When these thugs came around, I explained it to the people, and fortunately I was able to be on a lot of television, I did whatever you had to do, I had to explain it. And then they said, wow, that's fake stuff. It was fake. They're a bunch of bad people, but we kicked their ass and we're going to continue to do that. And there was nobody more loyal than Mr. Kaufman, who's fantastic, and Iowa, and his son, who's maybe more fair. Where the hell is he? Stand up. Where's your boy? His son is better than him, I'm telling you. And he doesn't mind. I have a lot of fathers who would be very insulted if I said that. But they're bad people. He's a good guy. He's got a son who's fantastic, you know that. I think he's probably here somewhere. Where is he? Oh, he's better looking than you, too. Good, thank you. Great job. Nobody more loyal than the people of Iowa during that period of time when we had to show our stuff. But we just celebrated the 250th anniversary of the Army at Fort Bragg. You know, they changed the name. we changed it back to Fort Bragg. The people of North Carolina came up, they said, sir, we want to really have the name of Fort Bragg back. Everybody was saying that. They kept calling it Fort Bragg. I changed it back. You know, these radical left lunatics changed the name of Fort Bragg. So we won World War II. We won World War I. We won other wars. We won everything from Fort Bragg and other places that we were also changing many of them back. And then we decided to change the name. No. I tell people, you know, it's incredible. We're the only people. We win 2 world wars from a place, and then we say, let's change the name. So we changed it back, and the people are very happy in North Carolina right now. And we just celebrated because the 250 was the Army. Was 1 year earlier than which makes sense. You know, we had a little army. We did well, and now we have a nation. So it was 1 year earlier than the nation itself. And we had a beautiful parade in Washington, D.C. the other day. It was fantastic. You know, it was amazing because the weather was so overcast and it looked so bad. And a week before they said, oh, it's going to rain. I said, oh man, we're bringing all these army tanks, we're bringing all these people, these men and women. They're going to march down Fifth Avenue or wherever. This is terrible, it's going to rain. And then on the day we woke up, rain is projected all night long, heavy. Oh, I'll get my hair soaking wet. My hair's going to be soaking. I'll say, you know, this is terrible. It's going to rain 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The thing was at 8 in the evening. 1 o'clock. Rain is forecast at levels you haven't seen before. I said, oh, this is it. And so the generals called me, sir, we could change it, but this is the Army. We're sort of used to bad weather. I said, no, don't change it. I'll wear a raincoat, I'll wear a big fat hat so I don't get totally drenched. I'll be okay, I'm such a tough cookie. And then what happens? We get there, and there's no rain, and we go 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of watching these great guys marching down Fifth Avenue. It never rained. And then I thought to myself, global warming, they're telling us what's going to happen in 250 years to our planet. But they can't tell us it's going to rain 3 hours before the end. In 250 years from now, the planet's going to burn up or freeze up. And you know, remember when they said, they called it global warming, then global cooling, they had all different things. Now they just change it to climate change, because climate change you can't miss. How's it doing? Climate change every time. If it's cold, if it's hot, if it's rainy, if it's sunny, if it's too crazy. We have climate change. But think of it. They're telling you what's going to happen in 100 years. The oceans are going to rise 1/4 of an inch and everyone's going to be wiped out. No, you're going to have more oceanfront property if that happens. And think of it with all of the nuclear weapons. Remember Biden had always used to say, it is an existential threat. He loves the word existential. It's an existential threat. What is? I don't know, climate change. Remember that always, that's dangerous too, because they're going to take that and they're going to say, he couldn't say existential. So you can't imitate people either. Remember I used to imitate Biden, couldn't get off the stage, and I'd walk into walls? And I called my wife, because it's always on television, and I said, how was it, baby? How good was that? We had 44,000 people. Nobody else could do it. I have to brag a little bit, you know, what the hell. A little truth to that. But I brag a little bit. I say, how good was I? You were really good, but you know, what happened? You couldn't find this. You couldn't get off the stage. They said, no, I was imitating Biden. No, well, that's not the way it showed up. They showed you hitting walls, bumping your head on. So even like the word existential, when I imitate him saying it, tonight it's going to be on CNN. He couldn't speak. He couldn't say the word. These are seriously sick people. But now, this fall, we're also going to be celebrating 250 birthdays of the United States Navy and the United States Marines. And one of them is going to be really great. It's called Space Force, because that was my baby. Remember, they wanted to terminate it. First year of Biden's administration, they wanted to terminate Space Force, and the military wouldn't let them. And it's turned out to be one of the most important there is. I was very proud of that Space Force, and they're doing great. In addition, just as I promised 5 years ago tonight in my speech at Mount Rushmore, where a certain governor at that time, who's now our Homeland Security